Welcome to Girl Talk with your host, Melissa Ann. Girl Talk is that show which discusses the real issues Black women face being a mom, a dad, a wife, a girlfriend, a sister, a co-worker, a therapist, or whatever hat Black women wear on any particular day. Why? Because Black women are just dope. Without further ado, here is your host, Melissa Ann.
Welcome to Girl Talk with your girl, Melissa Ann. Listen, today we are going to have a conversation about having each other's back. So many times, Black women are demonized and thought of as women that are crabs in a barrel. We don't have each other's back. We aren't supportive of each other. But I think there are commonalities amongst women who do support each other and lift as we climb. And I think it's important that we have that conversation versus the negative conversation of crabs in a barrel. And we've talked about crabs in a barrel on this show a multitude of times. But today I want to talk about sis, I got your back. And today, to join me in the conversation, I have a very dear friend of mine who's had my back on many occasions, Val Irving. So Val, go ahead and introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about who you are.
Hey girl, hey. It's me. It's Val. Val Irving. Of course, you know that's my name. But for your audience, my name is Val Irving. I actually live here in Douglasville now. I'm originally from a town in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana. But I've been in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, probably, well over 30 years. So I think I've been here longer than I've been anywhere else in my life. So I consider myself a Georgian.
A Georgia peach?
I'm a Georgia peach. Yes, ma'am. And like you said, we've just known each other for a very long time, kind of haphazardly, but we've known each other quite a bit of time.
Yep. So
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll just dive right in. So Val, you and I we don't have a conversation every single day or every single week or every single year, right. But you have a very special place in my heart. I always consider you my girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
When I moved to Atlanta and I was struggling on the struggle bus, I remember getting a job at a company that you and I were at. And I had some makeshift food that I could scrounge up. And you say, hey, girl, that looks good. And I said, well, it was all I could scrounge up because I don't have any food.
Right.
And the next day you came with bags of food. You didn't even know me. So you came with bags of food. And that started our relationship. And I want to know, during that time, like, what were you thinking, if you can remember back then? And what are some of the things like drives you to do stuff like that?
Melissa, I just saw this beautiful chocolate girl sitting there. I'm walking through the break room and what you had looked good, whether you scrounged it up, didn't have anything else or whatever. What you had looked good. And so I was like, hey, that looks good. But the thing was, the Lord allowed you to be transparent, which is something most of us struggle with, right? Just flat out telling somebody this is what's going on with me. And you said it and you didn't even think twice. And so I didn't hesitate to go, she don't have anything. I got plenty. I'm gonna run up in my house. I bet she'll have something tomorrow. And so I don't even remember who I was talking to. It might have been the other Val. There was 1,000 Vals at the job. But it may have been the other Val that I happened to be roommate with at that time. I think it was her. And I was like, you know what? She said she didn't have anything. We got all kind of stuff in here. I think I said, I got spaghetti that I was about to throw away or wasn't going to eat or something. And it just made sense to me that somebody needed something and I was able to provide. So it wasn't so much of at least I didn't think of it so much as just being this good Samaritan. It was just that, hey, this lady said she didn't have anything and I can share. You just said that you don't know, you were hopeful that I knew how much that meant to you. You always let me know exactly how deeply that touched you and what that did for you. And what I think I could call that, and I mean this with all my heart, divine connection, because, you said nobody was helping me, it wasn't my family, it wasn't this, but here you come. I was supposed to be there at that moment. You were
Right.
supposed to share that with me. And so you've never been ungrateful, and I'm throwing up the air quotes. You've never been ungrateful about that one incident that honestly, I didn't think about. It was just that you said you needed something, and I had something that I could, supply you with. And so I thank God that I was able to do it. I thank God that you were receptive. You wasn't too proud to receive it, because that's a thing. I didn't tell you that so you could be bringing me nothing, no. But you weren't too proud to take it, and I wasn't too big to give it. So I'm just grateful that the both of us were open to what our role was in our being connected.
That sense of, or that mentality of, if we drive it back to, sis, I got your back. I know in your circle, your circle is pretty strong of sisters that have each other's back.
Mm-hmm.
But before we talk about those women and how you guys are a unit, what do you think there's something that in your culture or in your upbringing that has driven you towards that? Not only your religion, and we'll talk about that too. Something in your upbringing has made you be that person.
It's funny. I never was a girl's girl. All my friends were guys. I had 2 really tight relationships. My best friend from high school, who I'm still cool with to this day, she's still my bestie. We were best friends from the age of 13, and we're in our 50s now. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends, but my thing was, when I connected to somebody, I never really let it go.
Mm-hmm.
My friendships are old friendships. New friendships, that takes a minute for me. But I warm up once I consider you my friend. I'm sorry, it's really gonna have to be a big deal for us not to be friends anymore. And we, like you said, when you first started your broadcast, we don't have to talk every day. We don't have to talk every month. Me and you talk, once a year sometimes.
Yeah.
And we pick up like we just got to talking to each other yesterday and hung up and said, good night, girl, talk to you tomorrow, because it's just that genuine.
Right.
Now,
Right.
so I don't know what to attribute it to. It's just that when I find somebody that I have kinship with, that's it for me. That's it.
And that's awesome. And a lot of times, would you agree that we live in a society where we, specifically as Black women, are pegged with being bougie and all of these different things, where we won't go ahead and lift another sister up.
Right.
That is, in some instances, that's very, very true.
Okay.
But in some instances, like you and our instance, we were in a corporate environment when I met you. Your aura was totally different than this crab in a barrel, and I'm gonna look down at you because you are eating some type of concoction in in the cafeteria. Or anytime when you knew I had a child, I was a single mother. You've been there for me throughout that journey. So there is no crabs in a barrel. And I don't think you understand what I'm trying to drive at with your mentality, is that is not, everyone doesn't do that.
I say my superpower is that I'm an encourager. I didn't used to think that when I was younger, but I recognize that now, that my superpower is encouragement. If I see you and you're my sister, or not even, I just try to say something that's going to help you, feel better about that day, feel better about a situation, we're out here in this world, and we're all going through something.
That's right.
Everybody's got a thing going on right now. And I happen to be one of those people that when you see me, you don't know I have something going on, but I've got stuff going on in my life too. And so many of us, we've been using the term Black women and whatever, but just, I think sometimes women in general, just don't get to, we've got to be mom, we've got to be sister, we've got to be auntie, we've got to be friend. And if you slack off on any of those areas, in this culture, everybody, it's a cancel culture. Oh, I'm done with her. She wasn't here when I needed her. And when I called her last week, she didn't even answer the phone. Man, people got stuff going on. People are dealing with things. And so I just hope that whenever I'm speaking to any of my girlfriends and people on the street, that they're getting something positive from me. We got enough negative. We got enough hurts. We got enough issues, heart issues.
Man.
You know, it's enough of that. So I just realized that my superpower is being an encourager.
So a couple of things I wanted to pull out of what you just said. Long before mental health was popular, you said to me, I mean, I don't know, a good 20 years ago, you don't know where people are in their day.
You don't.
And I didn't know what that meant as a young woman. But as you get older and you figure out people have things that are weighing heavy on them and they have to perform. But like you said, enter in the cancel culture. If I snap on you because something deep is happening to me and you happen to come in at the wrong place in the wrong time, now you cancel.
Or you catch all that venom I've got. You know, you mentioned counseling and or something to that degree. You talked about how, you know, mental health issues and the things that we struggle with. I remember my father died. I was 30 years old when my father died. Mm-hmm. And I was big in religion. I'm big in church. I'm big in church. I mean, I was going to church. Church was in my living room. I was going to at the time, started in my living room. And, you know, my father died. And everybody that I was with was, you know, ultra saved. I mean, come on, God gonna fix it. God gonna do it. Jesus, baby, you got to tarry. Get on the altar and tarry. God got this. I remember saying to someone, I think I need to go talk to somebody. And it was, girl, you better trust God.
Right.
Oh, okay. But now I know I can trust God and take my Black self to a doctor.
That's right.
I know I can trust God and pray and still go talk to a psychiatrist. I can trust God, pray, speak in tongue, lay hands, anoint with oil, and go to the doctor because that's what he made them for.
That's right.
That's why when I said then, and I still say to this day, you don't know where people are in their day. And you catch me at a broken down moment. You don't know it because I don't necessarily look like I'm crazy at the moment, but I might just really be on the verge of a snap. And then here comes somebody tripping because I took the parking space at Kroger. That's how we see these things on the news.
That's right.
People going postal and this, that, and the other, because you don't know where anybody is in their any given day. Just be kind.
That's
just
it.
Be nice.
And be kind. And just to keep to the theme of what we're talking about, sis, I have your back. Like, be kind to one another.
Every day.
Every day. If you can't do that one thing. Be kind to one another. And that means you don't have to talk about me behind my back. Just don't say anything. You don't like me, don't say anything.
And you don't like what I'm doing? Don't say anything. You don't have to call nobody and tell them?
Nope.
Right. You don't have to. Listen, if I wasn't supportive of Girl Talk, doesn't mean I need to call somebody and be like, guess what? Look what she's doing. Who told her she could do that? Who told you that you couldn't?
Right.
And nobody obviously told you that you couldn't because you out here doing it and make it happen. We have to, and I believe, you know, sis, I got your back is actually, you know, it's an awesome statement in and of itself, because so often we don't first think that the other woman has our back. That's not the first thing we think.
Why do you think?
I think that in society, and so often, I'm gonna just talk about Atlanta for the moment. Atlanta has 14 women to every one man.
Yep.
Something crazy like that. You know, I
don't know what it is.
I don't know the statistics, but you know, it's pretty vast. So I think in those instances, what happens And even growing up, we've heard our moms talk about other women. We've heard our aunties talk about other women. We as girlfriends at school, we've talked about other women and girls and stuff. And I think it just has been perpetuated and fed into so often. You know, when you think about women getting in relationships with men that already have somebody and things like that, which we've all done. So don't let me, I ain't throwing no salt. I'm talking about me too. But we've done those things in the past without considering the sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? See, we do that, then get caught and stuff goes awry and we get mad at each other. Guys don't lose friends about women.
Come on.
Women fall
That's
out all
deep.
day. It might be deep, but it's just the truth. Men don't fall out about women. They give each other a dap and tell each other how they had her. We get mad at each other, and the deal is, you mad at me, I'm mad at you, and he ain't with neither one of us. He messing with and married to somebody completely different.
Right.
So it's like, but those are those things that we don't consider when we're in those relationships. You know, when we enter into something like that, we need to start considering the sisterhood. And that's not just you, and that's not just me. That's all of us as a whole. We need to consider, because we've all been heartbroken. We've all had somebody walk out on us. We've all had somebody break up with us. We thought we was in love and we were going to get married and we was going to do this. And honey, he called you up one day. Like I had a brother call me on the job, but on the J to the O and the B, and told me, Melissa, listen here. You say we said we was going to talk about it. We going to talk about it. Called me at work and told me he was getting ready to marry some other chick.
After you've been with him for how long?
Now listen, that's the real ugly part of it. Now this is on me. This ain't on her. This part right here on me. Girl, and you know him, so I can't throw his name out there. We can't be named. But we had been together off and on for like 6 or 7 years. And we was on a own period. And I just had called him like 2 weeks before he called me. I just called him with the hookup. Hey, what you doing? You want to get together? Da 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 da. He gave me no, I'm in the middle of something. Da, da. Okay, cool. Well, it wasn't no big deal because we was just in an on period. Then he calls me 2 weeks later on the J to the O to the B, like I said a minute ago, to tell me that he was gonna marry somebody else. Now, he called me at my desk. So hold on a minute. Let me call you right back so I can grab a cell phone and go outside so I can let you know what I really thought about that situation. But the deal is, the truth of the matter is, I knew that he was with somebody else. So why am I that mad?
Right. Well, your little feelings are hurt. Your little ego is hurt. You know, there are parts of you that thought that would have been you, right?
Yes. Yep.
So those are all of the things we don't talk about.
Right.
That's why you mad.
That's why you mad. But I'm like, but here's what I'm saying. Considering the sisterhood, first of all, I shouldn't have been messing with him. We was quote unquote done. So all this back and forth and in and out, and sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. You know, that came back to bite me.
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
You know, but that came back to get me when he calls to tell me he's gonna marry somebody else. And I don't know, I don't know your audience, I don't know who all listens or whatever, but I know I ain't the only one.
Of course, you're not
the phone call, or the listen. They doing stuff in text messages now. This was at least 15 years ago, 16 years ago. But now we're doing it in text. Let me just let them know, seeing, and then they don't even have to respond to you because then they're gonna block you, girl. That's why we have to look out for each other. Nobody else looking out for us.
That's right.
We are seriously the low man on the totem pole. The Black woman. Come on now, we minority upon minority.
That's right. Malcolm X said it. The Black woman is the most disrespected woman in the world. Boom.
And then just going back to the scenario that I was just describing, then if had I been thinking about the sisterhood, my thing would have been, you know what? I know he with her. I don't need to be messing with that. I don't need to be doing that. I should need to let that go. But no,
Tell me about when you went, if you use that scenario, and I'm going to look up this quote for people like, that ain't what he said. It's like, how did your friend support you in that?
Well, in that one, here's what we do, I think, too, as women, that we don't necessarily do ourselves any justice, is, of course, they team Val, right? They team me. Well, he this and he that, and well, she and he and she and he. When in truth, at that time, this was, like I said, 15, 16 years ago, somebody should have sat me down and been like, okay, so what was your main malfunction? Why was you even still dealing with him? You shouldn't even been doing that. You knew better than that. I mean, you know what I mean? Not to rub salt in the wound, but to give me that girlfriend gut check. Now, you know you shouldn't have been doing that.
You shouldn't have been, but you know, there's elements to it. There's history to it. There's feelings tied to it. There's what is the word?
That emotional connection.
There's emotional connection. But you hear, you know, in your head, well, half a man is better than no man, and all of those different things. It may, you, I don't know, 15 years ago, that person may be what you wanted to be with.
In hindsight, I can say, nah, he wasn't. But then I probably thought, you know, I thought that he was. Then I thought that he was. Because now, mind you, I'm talking about something that had happened 15 years ago. But I mean, we had been together, what, another 5-6 years before that. So, you know, I'm thinking I'm hanging on to that thing that we got. I'm holding on to it. But that's when we need to seriously have one another's back and have those hard conversations. We don't like the hard conversations. We don't like because so often we get, when somebody tries to tell us or check us about particularly a man, first thing we try to say is, see, they ain't got nobody. That's why they're trying to be all up in my stuff. You know, because most of my friends are single. Let me just, you know, so to be clear, you know, I know that's not everybody's story, but so often when your friends are single and you're single and then you kind of dibbing and dabbing over here doing a thing, if somebody tries to bring you the real and say, come on, let's sit down and talk about that, you know, it's time to cut that out. It's time to really let him go, because all he's doing is, you know, taking advantage of you. You letting him take advantage of you. You know, however they word it, we get mad with them. Because check this out. I'm gonna use another scenario. A whole nother man doing his thing. Come find out he was a whole crook. Girl, a whole crook. Well, I called his best friend and was like telling him what was going on or had transpired between us, and that I suspected that there was another woman involved in this and this. And he confirmed that this is the man's best friend. He confirmed that, yes, you are right. And my thing to him was, why you didn't tell me? I can't believe you didn't tell me. Why you didn't tell me? And he said, I could have told you right off the rip. You wouldn't have believed me. What you would have done was went back and told him, oh yeah, your boy ain't no good. Your boy, he trying to holler. Because when he said, girl, and my face was really cracking on the ground, because that was the first time I really had to face that was the truth. I thought
that was the truth.
He called me all the way out. And that's what happens when people try to bring us the hard truth. We take it personally and then go off and be mad at them and lose friendship with them, instead of owning that maybe some of this is on me and some of this might be right.
That's right.
That.
And then you alluded to it earlier. You go straight to cancel culture, which, by the way, is nothing new. We done canceled your mama at some time, your aunt, your grandma.
Come on.
Black people cancels people, places, things. Nothing new.
Nothing new.
Let it alone. We'll be back.
Yep. Right.
So, you know, and that's what we tend to do. We go into and we cancel things, and we really don't have all of the pieces. We just mad at the moment. That's what cancel culture is. I'm mad at my mama right now. She'll be all right.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Until you over it, and then you go back. But this culture is, they just, they cut it off and you're done, and there's no evaluation of what it is, or any type of reconciliation. You're cut off, you're done, and then they're telling everyone across the world what it is you did, and that's even in our smaller silos.
Yeah. And not knowing though what the repercussions of that cancellation is going to be.
Yes.
What now? And how do I know that? Girl, you talking about cancel culture ain't new, baby. But I was a queen of cancel. I didn't talk to my own parents for 2.5 years.
That's right. See?
Seriously though, I mean, what I would, and they're both passed, what I wouldn't give for them 2 years. Right. You know, not knowing what the repercussions are for the cancel. At the time, I was young. I was 18 and grown, thought I was. And my father let me know, boo, you not grown, you just legal. Because here's what grown folks do. And then he ran down the list of what grown folks do. They buy their own car. They have their own apartment. They pay their own mortgage. They pay their own rent. They buy their own food. They wash their own clothes. They buy their own clothes. And girl, I wasn't doing none of that. He was like, you ain't grown, baby. You just legal. Please know the difference.
Right.
Face been cracked on that one ever since. But what I wouldn't give to get those 2 years back that I canceled them. That was ridiculous.
Right. And we do it all the time. So in the last few minutes here, this has really been a great conversation. What advice would you give sisters to kind of model themselves after you? You are definitely a person I could have given tens of stories. Even when my 3-year-old at the time told you she was still mad about that.
You ain't gonna keep telling me about that.
She was still mad about that.
Oh yeah, she's still salty.
And for everyone who's listening, Val somehow used to argue with my 3-year-old like they were peers.
Because I was silly.
Go back and forth, and the 3-year-old could speak very well, so they would just assume that it was two adults in the room. But anyway, I digress, and I want to talk to how, what are at least 3 things that you would give women to model themselves after who Val Irving is and her friendships with, the circle of women that you have and the connection. How do we get better at doing that?
I think the first thing you need to realize is that circles change. They don't always stay the same. You might have a circle that's got 5 people in it with 3 people that are kind of on the outskirts. And then something happens. And maybe one of the people that's in the circle is on the outskirts, and somebody who's that was on the outskirts enters the circle. That does not mean love is lost. It doesn't mean you love anybody any less. It doesn't mean people done fell out. It's just that sometimes the signs of the times and things change. And you just got to be willing to be a little bit more fluid. Don't be so staunch in your friendships because they do change. And then not only do the friendships change, recognize that people do change. People change. And it's not necessarily, you got to understand that sometimes where people are going, you can't go in this season. And sometimes where you're going, you be trying to just, tie a rope around folk and drag them along with you, but they can't go in this season. That doesn't mean you don't circle back. I mean, let's talk again, you and I. There was a period of time you was in one of the Kakalakis, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right? You was in North Carolina. We didn't talk.
That's right.
We didn't talk. Nobody was mad at each other. I didn't get on the phone and call Claudine or Tiffany and be like, y'all know what? Melissa ain't called me. I can't believe she ain't called me. It's not that. It's just that the circle had changed at the time because the road that you were on took you to North Carolina. And what I was doing, I was churching hard. So wasn't no room for what we were doing in each other's lives at the time. And then one day out of the blue, you called and said, hey, I'm going to do a dirty girl mud run. Let's do it. Okay. It wasn't like, you ain't called me in 5 years. Dirty girl mud run. I'm not doing that. There was none of that. So you got to give people the grace that you want. Because we want people to understand that, maybe I got something going on. Maybe I just found out I was sick. Maybe you just found out you were sick. And so now, and I'm not ready to share that news, but when it's time for you to know, you'll know. And so we just have to give people that grace to be who they are in that moment and then meet them there. We don't have to be so staunch in our friendships because, believe it or not, we need each other.
We do. We
need
really
each other.
do. We need the connections. And I'm grateful for you. I don't know how many more ways I could tell you that without getting emotional. But you have been, I don't know. You've definitely been a pillar in my growth. So when I met you, I was a kid, raising a kid. And, you helped me to realize many things. Like we talk about them, and this is a whole different conversation. We got to have you back.
Okay.
Relationship versus religion. You know what that was? I grew up Baptist. You read the little scripture, you sing the song, you keep it moving.
Right.
But what's the difference between relationship and religion?
Yeah.
And you taught me that,
Wow.
and the love of Christ and learning more and getting deeper and having a relationship with God versus going through emotions.
Girl, it is so, now that is another topic, and I'd love to get on that on another day, because what I thought I knew then, I didn't know, and I'm discovering new now. So yeah, we can sure hit that one.
Let's do it. We could do it. We could do it. Now, I don't want to leave this daggone podcast without correcting what I said. Malcolm X quote is, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. Not the world, in America. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. So it goes right along with what we have been saying. Now you have all of that to contend with, and then we contend with being the crabs in the barrel with each other. We got to stop that and have each other's back. So I really appreciate you joining this call today. I had such a great time with you.
I did too.
And I hope you will come back. Maybe we can come back with Claudine and Tiffany, and we could exchange stories
love it.
On our growth. But as always, podcast family, I see you because I am you.
You have just listened to the Girl Talk podcast with your host, Melissa Ann. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. Until next time, remember, I see you because I am you.